They are finally finished with the Texas portion of shooting, which means they are done shooting season 5. It is all in the can, as they would say in the film business, right? So now we're going to be watching the last week of season 5, what they did during that week, and trying to suss out a little bit of what is actually going on there. I think we got a few more hints of some of the cryptic things that Dallas was sharing last week. So let's jump into this and celebrate the last piece of filming for The Chosen season 5. Let's jump into this here. So first off, we get the shaving from a lot of the different people within the cast. Of course, many of them do not normally have a beard, but they grow out their beard specifically for the show. So right when the show is finished, this is really the only time they get to shave, because then they have to grow it back, a few months before filming for the next season. And so here we have Luke Dimian, who plays Judas, of course, getting ready to shave his beard here. And we see him jumping into it here as he has a little time lapse of him shaving it. Last year, I think he did a whole bunch of different styles before he was done shaving it. This year, he kind of went with a goatee real quick, then with a mustache, and then he shaves that off as well. So we're back to babyface Luke. He says it is finished. So yeah, I'm sure that's very therapeutic after having the beard for so long, especially if you're not used to it. I've had a beard since I was like 18 and I've never shaved it completely, so I don't think that's happening anytime soon for me. My wife would be very terrified, I think. So this week we also got our first look at the Last Supper in its entirety. This is a picture that Dallas shared along with a lot of the cast and crew. This is a really cool picture, especially because it kind of contrasted with the Olympics opening this week, where they kind of did their own version of the Last Supper, which was not too well received by the world. So really, really interesting kind of pushback from The Chosen, let's say. Interesting stuff there. Here we're going to see a couple of different clips here of The Chosen's kind of wrap party. They did this actually a couple of days before they were completely finished, because there's a lot of actors and actresses that were leaving town, and so they decided to do this a couple of days before they were actually done filming in order to have everybody be a part of it. So you see everybody dancing here. I think they're doing the Cupid Shuffle here. You see Dallas's family there as well, little James in the background, a bunch of the actors, actresses, and crew, obviously, having a great time. I think they just rented out this whole restaurant or whatever this is and just had a big party here. Now here we're getting a little bit of a glimpse of the last few days. So in total, there was only 68 days of filming for the season. That is the shortest by far that we've had basically any season that I've been covering. So 2 through 4, that's basically the shortest that we've seen them shoot throughout this time. I think they were trying to save money a little bit, but also trying to be more efficient through their shooting schedule. And so they did a great job. I think originally it was supposed to be 69 days. Then they were able to get it down to 68 days and to finish filming in that space. But here we're seeing day 66, which is our first day this week, and we're seeing some sort of tax booth here. I don't know if this is supposed to be going back to Capernaum. I don't think so. I think this is probably in Jerusalem, would be my guess, but we're seeing a bunch of people lined up in front of a tax booth here, and I do not think this is Matthew's tax booth, but it could be. Not 100% sure here.
Yes.
So there's that. We see another shaved face here with Philip, of course, Reza Diaco, as he's finished up as well. And then Matthew going into his last day, 30 total days for Matthew in this season. And so we see him there getting ready for his last day on set. Now here's another shot of the wrap party from Amy Bailey, who plays Joanna in the show. And so here's her view of it.
Wrap party!
Of course, we got Austin, who plays Nathaniel.
Hi, Amy.
Hi, babe.
Tonight is an opportunity because we know so many of you wanted to get home after we're filming. We didn't want to miss a chance to connect. This season has really, really been extraordinary. We've had so many big scenes and big sets and lots of people visiting, and it's been a huge challenge, and yet it's been one of our actually smoothest seasons yet.
Yes.
And that's because of you.
So really cool. Dallas addressing everybody there. Same thing here. We're seeing the Last Supper again, posted by a bunch of the different actors and actresses. Little James, Jordan Ross, says, "You're not ready." Then we see George Xanthus here at the Last Supper as well. At the tag on the bottom, he puts Luke 22, 7 through 20. This is talking about the Last Supper and specifically the institution of of communion, essentially. And so we see that there. Now, again, we see Jaleh, who plays Veronica in The Chosen, the woman with the issue of blood. And she says, Olympics opening, 0. The Chosen series, 1 million, a million points. Again, we see the same thing. Mitch Hudson, our Last Supper scene is going to break the internet even more than the Olympics is what he's kind of pointing towards there. Now we get day 67. He says, even I can't get in. This is Dallas here talking about a scene in which he can't even see what's kind of going on here.
More athletic horses.
We see all the crew standing around. We've got some horses in the background here. Real horses on set in the stables there, which is really cool. We got some of the crew here. That's Dallas's son to the left, and then to the right, this is one of the assistant directors. He's been in the past, but he's done a few different roles on The Chosen, including being the kind of stunt double for King David during the ending scene of season 4, the ending of the opening scene, the opening scene of the ending episode. There it is of season 4 during the strike last year. Now here we see a couple of the crew, but if you look down to the left, you can see the feet of some of the actors. This kind of looks like Thomas, but his old outfit. So I don't know if this is a flashback or something else. I doubt it. I don't really see a point in flashbacking on Thomas really, but we'll see. I can't really tell who else that would be. Possibly Barnaby or someone, but I don't think so. So you let me know if you can know who those costumes are over to the bottom left. But I don't know who they are. Now here, there's a little bit of a flashback. This is back in time a little bit from the behind the scenes that we're looking at now. It's a few weeks ago. This is a scene that we have really not seen before in any of the behind the scenes from Dallas or the crew or anybody. And this is Judas talking to Shmuel. Of course, this is a really big moment that's going to come up in season 5, particularly because Judas is going to have Shmuel be a part of this whole betrayal moment. So I'm really interested to see how this plays out for sure. The Chosen says, we don't have a good feeling about this.
And then, so if they go up, you're right actually from there, just a little bit, but yeah, perfect, like that.
So right here, they're getting the placement. So you see the guy right here basically drawing a T on the ground. This is how the actors know where they're supposed to stand for the right eye lines and the right camera positions as they're getting into the scene. So Judas is most likely going to walk forward to this spot specifically and talk to Shmuel here.
You gotta see that.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this scene for sure. I'm really looking forward to the whole Judas understanding as a whole. We'll talk about this later during one of the roundtables, not tonight, but in a future stream. We will talk about Judas and kind of his intentions and what actually happened to him. Was he possessed? We'll talk about all that kind of stuff in the future for sure. So here we get a little bit of a kind of crossover moment. Of course, if you don't know, Dallas he has created a feature-length movie, a Christmas movie, The Greatest Christmas Pageant Ever, and that is coming out in November of this year. And so he started shooting that right at the end of last year, beginning of this year, and so that's going to be finished and coming out in November. And so this is a little bit of a crossover between those two sections here. I've had to dip some of the music here because I don't want to get copywritten or anything like that, but here we see.
It's so hot in here.
This room is beautiful too.
We can help with that. Now.
So this shows us a couple of things that's quite interesting, actually. I think this was shot recently, within the last few weeks, because they are inside of Caiaphas's house. One thing that we're seeing here that we really haven't seen any other part of the behind the scenes is Gaius. So I wonder a couple of things. So we know that these actors specifically are are in the new movie. So we see Liz Tabish in the Christmas movie. We also see Kirk Wohler in the Christmas movie. So they're tied to both projects, obviously. So it makes sense that they're here. So either Kirk shows up just for the day in order to do this little short to promote the movie, or he was on set as Gaius in season 5 somewhere, which we really haven't seen at all. Looking at his costume as well, it's a little bit different than what we've seen from him before, and he is wearing a Roman soldier outfit, not his proper sort of praetor outfit. So maybe this was shot last season, but that doesn't really make any sense to me because I don't think this set was done last season. So my guess is this is one of two things. Either Kirk just showed up for the day in order to do this scene with Liz and the kids, or he is actually in season 5 somewhere during maybe a check-in for Capernaum or something like that. I don't know 100%, but yeah. That's kind of where we sit with that. At least we're seeing him in some sort of behind-the-scenes type thing here. But this is definitely looking like the inside of Caiaphas' home that we've seen a lot of during the behind-the-scenes here. Hey! And these obviously are some of the kids who play in the Christmas movie. The main kids from the family there.
What are you looking at?
So that comes out November 8th. So if you want to check that out, definitely do. We also see Dallas hitting 400,000 followers on Instagram, which of course is always a great milestone set up there. If you guys do want to follow us on Instagram, I never mention this because I don't really use Instagram that much. But if you do want to follow us on Instagram, we're over on Instagram. Both the Snipe Life and the Chosen Sleuth are on Instagram. So if you want, more behind the scenes stuff, sometimes I'll post like about our trips or different things like that. And so if you want to see more of that, it's over on Instagram as well. Hey, real quick, if you're enjoying this episode right here and want to see more videos just like this, the best way to help support us is by going to snipesupport.com. For $5, $10, or $25 a month, you can help us to continue making videos like this and not have to worry about the YouTube algorithm and have to cater towards specific types of videos. It really helps us to continue to make the videos that we want to make and that you want to see. So anyway, if you want to support us, head over there to snipesupport.com and let's get back to the video. Now here we see Giovanni Cairo, who plays Thaddeus, and he is leaving his dorm room, his little bungalow apartment area here. And that's a wrap on season 5, Rad Thad out. So he's done, obviously, shooting, and he's moving on. But first, of course, he's got to mess with his castmates a little bit before he leaves. And he leaves a little bit of a note for John. He says, "Hags," which is have a great summer. And remember, Johnny boy, don't argue. Love, Rad Thad. P.S. Thanks for the dressing room. So there's that, and then we see George Xanthus reacting to his little attack here, which is hilarious. Now here we get the wrap on Simon the Zealot, who's played by Allah.
Finished with a bang, with a beautiful performance as always. Very reliable. That's a season 5 picture wrap on our Z Allah.
So this looks to be at nighttime. They're in Jerusalem somewhere here. Yeah, that's where Simon kind of ends. That's his last scene there during the last few days of shooting. Now, we didn't get as many of these as we did last year. During season 4, we got almost all of the actors' kind of farewell moments, which gave us a little bit of a clue to what we were looking forward to. But this year, maybe because they're doing a little bit more secretive scenes as they're finishing up the season, we didn't get as many of those as we have previously. We got a little bit something from Bradley Funkhauser, who is part of the social media team, part of the Insiders team. And so he says, day 68 of 68, last day of season 5 filming. And of course, he's got his emotional support nuggets right there. Bradley's very funny if you have not met him before. Then we got the Last Supper, day 68 of 68. This is from one of the crew members, Arturo Ochoa. And this is a very nice meal. If this is their lunch on the last day, man, I wish I was there. You got some crab legs, some lobster. You got some sushi. Really nice stuff. Looks like some steak or pork. some vegetables, yeah, some shrimp. Looks really, really, really good. Of course, not very kosher, for sure. Basically, nothing on this plate is kosher, but it looks great for a lunch, for sure. Now, this is something that's really, really interesting. When I first saw this posted, I even had the question, were they supposed to post this? There's a couple of different moments here where we see definitely this is looking like the Garden of Gethsemane, okay? This is definitely setting up for the night of Jesus' betrayal because it's being shot right at the end of the season. Makes sense that they're shooting this episodically, that this is near the end, possibly of episode 8 of the season. It's looking really, really cool. Of course, we just shot the Last Supper. We've gotten some hints of Judas kind of leaving the Last Supper and some different things there as well, which we'll talk about in a second. And now we're seeing here this forest-like garden area. And so it's definitely looking like this is going to be our Garden of Gethsemane, which makes a lot of sense. There's a specific area on the Texas set where there is a bunch of trees like this, where there's a lot of forested areas actually on the set. But next to the set that they have everything kind of in Capernaum and everything there's this small little area where it's a kind of forested area where they could definitely shoot. I think we've been told previously this is where the Garden of Gethsemane is going to be. So I think that's where this is. I think this is outside in that area. There's some other shots later that kind of make me feel like they've shot some of this inside as well, but I'm not 100% sure. So this looks like it's outside. You guys give me your thoughts on it, but here's a little clip here. Yeah, it looks like this is outside. I don't think this is set up inside. I think that'd be way too much work when they have forests outside already, but who knows? Now, here is the last day. We're going to come back to that scene again. There's a couple of different things that lead us towards that Garden of Gethsemane scene as well. But here's the last day of filming. They did a couple of different things on this day in particular. Something from episode 2 and then something from episode 7. We're going to see proof of that in a little bit. But here we see a scene between Caiaphas and Herod Antipas, which is cool to see him back as well, kind of going into this scene.
He's only preached peace and forgiveness, love, humility, a bunch of other qualities.
So he's talking about Jesus here, and we see Herod Antipas talk about how he's only heard Jesus preach about mercy and grace and forgiveness and all this kind of stuff, right? And so he's basically saying like, oh, I don't think Jesus has really done anything that bad, right? So they're probably talking about possibly the Jews wanting to arrest Jesus or kind of leading up to that point. We've seen Caiaphas have that conversation with Pilate already, so it would make sense that Caiaphas is having that conversation with Herod as well, because he kind of needs both sides to work for him. He needs Herod as the king of the Jews, right, to work for him, and then he also needs Pilate as the Roman leader to work for him as well in order to get Jesus arrested and all of that moving forward.
And performed harmless magic tricks.
And he says, and perform harmless magic tricks, which is quite interesting as well. Here is the last day of filming, which was Wednesday, July 31st. And we see that they're shooting two different things. This is the ending shots of episode 2 and episode 7. So not necessarily the last shots of those episodes, but the last days that they're shooting. And this is the final day of filming for all of those. So these are the last things that they're wrapping up on those there. And so you can see kind of the call sheet, a little bit of what's happening here, shows you what they're shooting for the day, tells you the total days, tells you what's happening for breakfast and lunch, as well as the weather for the day and what's supposed to be happening. This is obviously extremely important for someone like Adam Drake, who is the assistant director for the show. He's kind of the one that calls the shots on all these things, makes the schedule, and makes it all, good coming into the day and organized. And so really, really cool to see that they're finally done shooting.
Jesus.
Yep, we can hear a little bit of stuff in the background, someone saying Jesus, but nothing important there that we can really suss out. Here is a little bit of a horizontal. I hate when they do this, when it's an Instagram video that's vertical and then they put it horizontally. Here's a little bit of a wrap party at the end of everybody finishing up this scene here. So I think once they were done with the Caiaphas and Herod Antipas scene, I think that's where they actually finished the whole entire season. So that's where we finished up. You see a bunch of people here visiting set as well. We got family and friends and everybody coming in and looking at the set and seeing how amazing it is. And then again, this is something they do pretty much at the end of, at least at the end of last season and this season. We've got these rainbow lights going off and a crazy party, you know, celebrating that they're done filming for the season. And then we got some more from the wrap party. We've got, of course, the executive producers, and we got Chris June here, who is part of Ooze Studios. Well, both of these guys are part of Ooze Studios, Chad Gunderson and then Chris June. Both of these guys are obviously instrumental in The Chosen and what they've done, and I love both these guys. They're really, really great guys. Then we got some dunk tank action as well. And then here we get some interesting Instagram posts from Jordan Ross. There's a couple of different things here that interest me quite a bit. First off, of course, his family is here, at least part of his family. I believe he has 3 daughters. And so we see his wife here and his one of his kids. And then we see him dressed up a little bit differently than we've seen him before. So I'm thinking during the last week or so, or maybe this is a little bit older of a photo, we see him in a different position than we've seen him previously. This is either another flashback of little James back in the past when he was trying out for the choir or something like that. We've already seen evidence of that previously, or this is maybe a nighttime James whenever he has like a head covering in order to, I don't know, keep his hair during nighttime. I feel like they probably wouldn't do that, but maybe this is him right after the Last Supper, right? Getting ready for bed, something like that. We don't know what this costume is for, but there's definitely speculation that could take place and why he's wearing this instead of his normal gear, which looks very different than this. Normally now in season 4 and season 5, he's wearing kind of a green tunic and then has some other stuff along with it, but normally that's what he's wearing, completely different than this for sure. Now, next we see, as his family is visiting, there's some other things that they kind of go through and they see. Let me see what's happening here. First off, he's got the script here. I wish I could enhance it and show us what's written on this page, but of course we can't. It's just too small to read anything there, but he's showing his family some of the script that he's doing here. And then we see also his family on set here, but where are they on set? So it looks like they're in this same forest that we saw previously. It looks to be outside. I don't think this is a set that's inside, but you guys let me know what you think about it. We see this forest again and someone who is standing in. This could be John over here, but I'm not 100% sure. This could be John, kind of in this upper left corner, past the camera here. But I think it might be a stand-in. And again, I think this is leading up to the betrayal of Jesus, right? That makes a lot of sense for me to end season 5 there. And they're kind of planning out what they want to do here as they're looking at what's going on. And then here is another shot of that same area here as they're getting ready to shoot through these scenes. We see a bunch of the apostles on the floor here. Looks like Jesus is maybe over here with some of the other apostles. I can't really tell. It's hard to say. But the photographer's here as well, shooting some of the actors. So that's a good sign that this is an important scene. We definitely like seeing that. So there's a bunch of stuff here as well that we can see from there. So yeah, that's pretty much it for that. Then the last thing that we kind of got was a thank you for season 5 and showing us just some of the big highlights of season 5, which is really interesting. So let's go through this and talk about it. Again, I turned down the music for this one because I don't want to get any copyrights or anything like that. But big scene, obviously, from Utah with all of the extras here. This is, I believe, right around the section of Jesus preaching about, he's basically saying to God, glorify your name, and God actually speaks back to him. This is a really cool scene that I'm looking forward to, so that's going to be amazing. Here we see the triumphal entry as Jesus comes in on the donkey. Again, obviously, if they were shooting in this direction, we would see those buildings and everything in the background being photoshopped out so that we didn't have any future buildings or anything like that in the behind the scenes. But of course, they're probably shooting a different direction entirely, either front facing or behind them going into Jerusalem. So we see some Pharisees there actually as well, kind of intercepting Jesus before he gets to Jerusalem, which is quite interesting. I wonder if that's a Gadara. I wouldn't doubt it. I could see that for sure. We see some Roman soldiers kicking in a door like we saw a couple weeks ago. And we see Mary Magdalene as well as Tamar kind of walking fast past her. We see Thaddeus there as well. Not 100% sure what this is. We see Peter at the Last Supper. Again, moving quick, showing us an important scene, but we're not sure where this is. Is it before the dinner? Is this after the dinner? What's kind of going on here?
And here we play.
Looks like Peter was leaving there, so maybe they're leaving the Last Supper, and they're moving forward from there. Of course, here we play is what Dallas always says when they, instead of, you know, hey, let's shoot or action, right? He will kind of get everybody together and say, here we play. That big explosion we saw earlier, my hypothesis for this is that this is going to be the oil being destroyed at the temple, and because of that, Zebedee will need to step in and help with the oil production. That's my guess on that. And we see Andrew and Philip, who are kind of, you know, always a duo throughout the entirety of The Chosen, and so we're going to see them again together here in season 5. Yep, we see some Romans here on the move. Again, we saw them kick down that door. I think this is part of that same scene as they're kind of going towards that door. We see Caiaphas in his high priestly garb. This is a special uniform that they would wear during special ceremonies and different things like that. And so this would have been during Passover. So during the week of Passover, obviously, that we're in right now, he's wearing this uniform pretty much the whole season other than specific moments. Now, this is probably the most interesting part of the entire thing. We see Judas leaving what looks like a room that's up, right? So if that's the case, this is most likely, at least from my assumption, this is most likely Judas leaving the upper room. Maybe during that night when he goes to betray Jesus, maybe on his way to receive the silver. There's a bunch of different things that this could be, but I think that's probably it here from Judas as he's leaving this room there's been a lot of fixation on for the most part from our behind the scenes. There's been a lot of moments when we've seen them shooting up and down this staircase here. And so, yeah, that would be my guess there with this. We see Pilate kind of freaking out, as well as this guy in the background here. We've seen him in a couple of different moments throughout the behind the scenes. I think he's connected to Caiaphas in some way, and I believe this is being shot in Caiaphas's home as well. So Pilate is in Caiaphas's home right here, which would make a lot of sense. Yep, there's Jesus looking over the crowd, or looking over Jerusalem. We kind of get this shot of him in another behind the scenes of him looking over into the temple area, I believe. And so we see him here with his new kind of outfit. He has this kind of white robe with a scarf here. All the extras. And then that's it. So that is season 5, completely done, completely filmed there. Really, really cool stuff. I'm so looking forward to season 5. There's so many amazing moments that are to come. Of course, we've gotten this large moment of Lazarus' raising. We're going to start off the season with a bang with the triumphal entry, getting into all the stuff from Holy Week, including Jesus flipping the tables and everything else, right? And then it's going to end close to the betrayal, if not at the betrayal. So many amazing moments coming in season 5. I cannot wait for that. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below as they're finally finished filming. And trust me, we've got a lot of content here on the channel to go through until then. So stick around, subscribe, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.